Welcome to Surviving Roots, the podcast where we journey through the complexities of our emotions together. I'm your host, Carrie Fund, and I'm here to guide you on a path of self-discovery, understanding, and healing. In each episode, we'll explore a range of emotions and experiences, from navigating grief and trauma to managing stress and anxiety. Through candid conversations, expert insights, and practical strategies, we'll uncover the tools you need to navigate life's emotional landscape with resilience and grace. So, let's embark on this transformative journey together. Take a deep breath. Allow yourself this time. This podcast is for you. Welcome, everyone. I am so excited for my guest today. Alissa Alter is also known as the Amy Poehler of Vaginas for her unfiltered and unapologetic approach to destigmatizing the female body and experience. A former Broadway performer and certified classical Pilates instructor, Alissa is the host of the podcast Myth of Motherhood and the author of Unstuck: From Understudy to the Study of Your Undercarriage. Thank you so much for joining me today, Alissa.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Carrie. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so excited. Usually I want to just get started, but I read so many fun facts about you. You are so interesting, and I can even feel your energy right now through the Zoom. So I got to share some of these things. We often hear it's like riding a bike, and I love the fact that you say that doesn't apply to you because you're terrible at riding a bike and you'd rather have tap shoes on the spotlight.
My equivalent is tap shoes. I cannot tap dance for a very long time, and then I put tap shoes on, and I'm ready. I'm ready. Put me back into 42nd Street. I'm ready to go. But getting on a bike, I'm just not very good at it, and it doesn't come back. There's nothing to me. It's not natural to me.
Tap shoes sound more exciting and fun anyway.
Yeah.
I love that you love coffee and you basically call it your anxiety juice and you don't care. You'll never stop drinking it. No matcha lattes, no like switching out for teas.
I mean, periodically I do that. But I then go back to coffee. I love it. But it's straight up anxiety juice.
Yeah.
And I love it.
I hear you. I'm excited to speak with you today. I'm also very jittery because I don't know what's happening, if it's like the moon or just like things, but I've been up since 3:30. So I've had like 5 double espressos.
Oh my God.
Like I'm ready for dinner time right now, but like,
yeah,
I don't even think
you're
it's
like
lunchtime.
freaking out.
Yeah. But I'm also excited. So this is going to be fun. So you spent your 20s touring the country with Broadway shows. From a girl who lived in New York City for 16 years, and Broadway shows were like going to a movie. I'm like fascinated by the fact that you toured the country with Broadway shows like A Chorus Line, Guys and Dolls, 42nd Street, and also in your 20s, you say that you married the wrong person.
Yes.
But in your 30s, while trying to figure out what the F happened, you kept handing your autonomy to the closest person who would take it. I can totally relate to that, like so many people. And you wanted to figure out how to stop repeating this pattern. But then you fell in love with yourself and Jeremy. I have so many questions.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to dive right in because we're all about turning pain into potential.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just share your story of how you've done this?
I mean, it was really hard. Like, I'm not going to pretend it wasn't. But I think that I really grew up with this internalized understanding that like I existed in relation to someone else and that that I was dependent, that I needed to be taken care of, and I was dependent. So my first husband is someone I started dating like 2 weeks into my first year of college.
Okay.
And then we stayed together. And so it was also sort of like, okay, cool. Like I have the person, like I'm safe now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I need that. And to sort of be, it like I wasn't really raised with a lot of trust, the ability to trust myself, which I also think as a dancer, you you're like a soldier. You do what you're told and you're corrected. And it's an interesting balance of, I mean, to really dance, to become an artist, you do
Mhm.
have to connect to your intuition and follow that. But at the same time, you have to follow directions, do it perfectly, and do it perfectly every single time. And like in
Yeah.
musical theater, that's 8 shows a week. You do not deviate. It does
Wow.
not matter if you don't feel well. It does not matter if you hate your castmate. It doesn't matter if you love your castmate. It doesn't matter if like your bra accidentally unhooked and is like hanging off your body underneath your costume. Like you have to just show up and do it. And I, I ended up marrying that man. And I think that the only freedom that I had was that I would leave to go on tour. So then I like had these opportunities to kind of connect to myself. But again, I was still in a situation where there wasn't a lot of freedom. There was so much freedom, but there also wasn't freedom, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And it just got to the point where there are all those like cliches that I'm now not going to say elegantly at all, but of like,
I always mess them up. Just
the
go for it.
universe makes you so uncomfortable until
Mhm.
you have to grow. And
Right.
like, seeds explode and stars explode and implode in order for,
Yeah.
for creation, there has to be destruction and all of that. And it just got too uncomfortable and too painful only being told what to do.
Ooh.
And, I had met my ex-husband when I was 18. I was a freshman, he was a senior. So there was that power dynamic, which just continued.
Right.
But we were together for over 13 years. And 13 years later, I was like, I'm not like the new freshman on campus who doesn't have a clue. Like, I'm an adult with an opinion. Like, I have lived experiences and I have valuable things to bring to the table too. But there was no space for me. And in my performance career, I was working on a brand new show and I was so excited for it to be creative. But I then realized that like I wasn't on the creative team. So, there was no room for my creativity. I just had to continue doing what I was told and I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. And so, there were steps in between, but I ended up filing for divorce. I did a couple more shows after that. And the last
Hmm.
show that I did, I realized I was doing exactly what I had set out to do in theater. I wanted to be in shows. I wanted to um like understudy the lead if I wasn't playing the lead,
Hmm.
be covering the lead, um, and be seen more as an actor than an ensemble dancer and all of these things. And I was doing exactly that. And I was still so unhappy and so unfulfilled and just still felt trapped. And so that's when I left the business in that capacity,
Okay.
but I started doing musical improv again, like improv comedy, but I
Yeah.
specifically musical improv. So there's an accompanist, and like when you're in the scene, when you find like a very funny moment or emotionally heightened moment, the piano player starts to play and you make up a song and a dance. It was just the best. And in improv, you have to you have to trust yourself. You have to trust yourself and your teammates. You have to trust your instincts and your intuition and be present and listen and be here in the moment. It's not pre-scripted. There's no
Mhm.
script. You are writing it as you're doing it. And that is like exactly what I needed in my life because I'd been doing the opposite for so
Right.
long. And through that, it was like I realized like I have something to say of value. Like because of the things I contribute to these shows and these like with to my teammates, we build something incredible and we have so much fun and it's so funny and beautiful. And from there, I started writing my own work and I performed
Amazing.
I've done two different one-woman shows in New York. One was about my divorce and
Hmm.
dating.
Hmm.
And then the second one I did actually February of 2023 while I was 6 months pregnant with my second about motherhood because I just was like, I have to do this now because I'm going to change again. Like this
Yeah.
story will be finished. I have to get it out there. So, so through, through all of that, and again, this trusting myself, I then went on what I call my Eat, Pray, Love trip, which I went on 2 weeks after meeting Jeremy,
Okay.
my now husband, who is my forever husband, my favorite
I'm
husband,
your favorite husband.
which means something because I've
Congratulations,
had more
Jeremy.
than one, right? It like
Yeah.
really means something. Um, and I traveled by myself to Croatia and then a friend's wedding in Italy. And it was during that trip that I really remember thinking, I really like me. Like, I think I'm so funny. Like, I have a lot of fun
Hmm.
with myself. And I'm in this new country. I'm doing these things. I'm seeing things, but I'm having my own reactions or it's reminding me of things. I'm making connections and I think they're hilarious. And I was like, I'm fun.
Amazing.
Like, I think I'm fun. And then it was like this freedom. It was like, it doesn't matter if someone else thinks that or not.
Yeah.
I like me.
Which is so important because, what do you think was that moment for everyone listening that feels like maybe they've outgrown their box? They've
Yes.
outgrown their box
Oh
and it's
my God.
almost
And I love that
suffocating
you
them.
just said like you've outgrown your box because also sometimes people call their vagina their box.
Oh, really?
Did you
Yeah,
know?
I'm just wondering how many times I'm going to say vagina today because I normally don't say that word, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to count when I listen to this again. Um, I'm just wondering, like so many people who feel that are listening that you've outgrown your box, whatever that is.
Mm,
Some people never step out of it and close
I
it.
know.
They stay in it. So what do you think was the catalyst that made you pull the trigger? I mean, you had this amazing like passion platform with Broadway and all of your creative experience in your arts, even though you say that was sort of like controlling and rigid until you got into improv and things like that. But like what do you think was that thing that made you say, like, Alissa, just pull the trigger, like do it. You've got to get out of this box because so many people stay in a box.
I
What
think
gave you the opposite of
I
vagina? What gave you the balls to do it?
what gave me the labia to do it?
Yeah.
Um, I remember having this moment where, and I mean, I think it applies, like, I think I would think the same thing now, but also like, I met him at 18 and it was around my 30th birthday that I think I was really like, this isn't good and it's not changing. Like
Yeah.
this is not getting better. And have a I can see where this is going and it's not somewhere I want to go.
Yeah.
And I did. So you know, I was like, I I felt stuck. I felt really stuck. I felt like, well, people say like a long-term relationship, you stop having sex and you just kind of settle in. And I was like, I guess that's what, like, I guess I'm doing it right because I certainly feel that way. And then, there were things that sort of pushed the envelope and there was a discussion of having children. And I was
Mhm.
like, I remember really thinking, I can't do that with you. I don't I can't parent with, I don't want, you shouldn't have kids. But
Yeah.
I knew I wanted kids. And so that was a moment where I was thinking, well, if I don't, wait, I know I want that. What are we doing here? But I remember this moment thinking, like, I'm only 30 years old, but I could say that now at 40.
Yeah.
Feel like I could say that at 50. Like, I, cross your fingers, hopefully. Like, I have so much life ahead of me.
Yes.
There's more ahead of me that's behind me.
Hmm.
And I can't let a decision that this past version of me made where she only knew what she knew, and I now know different things. I can't let that person dictate my whole life.
Yeah.
Like, this is not good. I'm not happy. I'm not going to live my entire life like this. Who is that good for?
Right.
And I almost feel that even more now because I have kids.
Yeah.
Like I had all those thoughts and I didn't have kids. But now I think about that and when things come up with my husband and I and like distribution of labor and emotional labor and traditional gender roles and what we want and what works for us
Yeah.
and what doesn't. And there are times where my husband's like, you know, some of my friends, like, they don't have to do as much as I have to do. and, and I have two responses to that. And one is, do you think I deserve that to do it all alone?
Yeah.
Is that what you want for me? And the other thing is that what you want to teach? We have two boys.
Yeah.
Is that what you want to teach them? Like, I don't, what our marriage is, what our relationship, what our partnership, what our teamwork looks like, all of this is also their model. And I'm not going to pretend things are good if they're not. I'm going to let them see us have conflict and resolve it. Um, but also, even more so, if this were bad,
Yeah.
who, no, I, that's not why I'm not here to suffer.
Right.
And so I think there reaches a point where like you do normalize to the pain. But I think then there were moments where I realized that I had normalized to the pain and like just because I could handle it. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm a dancer. I danced on point. I tap dance in 3-inch heels
Yeah.
on concrete stages. Like I'm no stranger to
To pain.
pain.
Yeah.
But just because I can tolerate it does not mean I have to, nor that I should.
I think that is so important what you just said. And this goes for anyone listening, whether it's divorce or in my case, it was estrangement from my mom, like any kind of
Yes.
relationship that you are suffocating in and is painful. And, you look at your life and, like you mentioned earlier, space, like having the space to feel your own feelings or your own thoughts or just have a voice. It doesn't really matter who that is in life, whether it's a friend or a toxic parent or a
A
toxic relationship
hundred
or
percent.
partner. It is just really finally saying to yourself, I have so much life ahead of me. How am I going to live it? And what kind of
Yeah.
legacy do I want to leave, especially with children? Because we are, besides full-time assistants to our kids, we are like models. We are their role models.
Mhm.
And we need to model the same behavior to give them the examples, like to grow up in life. Like they show up into this world and they have all these amazing inside, inner tools, but none of them are activated. They look to us to help, like, what is confidence? What is empathy? What is love? And, we have a major responsibility as parents and human beings to like be not only to ourselves to just live our own best effing life, but
Yeah.
be a good role model for children. So
Yeah.
this is a
And
perfect example.
I also feel like when we do that, we also are modeling and creating space for this and um supporting each other.
Yeah.
Because I had this whole experience with my first marriage and my evolution, and then learning to advocate for myself and value myself as part
Hmm.
of the equation, and know that there are times where actually I do have to come first.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, always, but not always.
And I hear
But
you.
I
Yeah.
do always have to be included that there was a period of time where I was not speaking to my father.
Okay.
And it was I mean, like any type of disconnection from someone so integral into your life. I mean, it was hard. This was horrible. It was like
Yeah.
disgusting and messy and a long road and tormenting. And there was this part of me that also knew because I'd gone like through this similar thing with my ex-husband that I was like, the thing is, if I don't take a stand for myself, if I don't show up in line with my values and my beliefs, if I don't advocate for myself, no one's going to do it for me.
No one.
And then what if it's not just my kids, like what am I showing like the world
Yeah.
about how I can be treated? And like if you like what am I telling the universe that I want that they're going to
Yeah.
respond with? Or just like literally like then that affects how I show up in the world. And it reached a breaking point
Yeah.
where I said, this is what has to happen because this is wrong.
Yeah.
And it kept not happening. And I said, I will not engage in this.
Yeah. It takes real courage to do that because the biggest risk is that you completely lose yourself. And so then it's hard to even show up to the world or the universe because I mean, pain is a very dangerous thing and traumas and things like that and toxic relationships. And at some point, you just wonder, like I see people who are trying to break cycles and are trying to, heal. And I say to them, it's really hard to heal in a toxic environment, the same environment that's hurting you. So no
Yeah.
matter what your decision is, like the key word is space. Like first have the self-awareness to know that you deserve better, that everything you need is so much inside of you. We're not little kids anymore. We have so much power inside
It's
of us.
all in
Our
there.
parents, some of them or relationships may like have deactivated them or never turned them on, but we have the keys to the kingdom now. We are adults. And
It's
it's
like
like, go ahead,
it's
please.
like Linda at the end of The
Oh,
Wizard of Oz.
yes.
She's like, the power was inside of you
You
all
give
along.
me
But
chills. Yes,
literally,
yes, it
literally.
really is. But it scares me so much because there are so many people that literally the pain, I think, has just suffocated the light out of them. And I think you always have a choice and you can always sort of find your way back. But if you just allow it to keep happening, it just the goal and the goal to heal just seems so much further away. So it's really having the self-awareness, I think, and the space. Like even if you take a 2 week trip, or even if you take a 2 week break or a month break from that relationship, like let yourself have the peace without the noise and the toxicity
See what
and
that feels like.
see what you say to yourself. Like you can actually, when someone's not drowning out, your life with their pain and their problems and
Mm.
everything, you actually can hear what you sound like. Like I think I didn't even hear that until probably a month after my mother, we broke up. I broke up with her that I was like, is this my inner voice? Like,
Who
was that,
are you?
yeah, is
Hello?
this my inner voice?
Is this thing
Wow.
on?
Yeah. I'm like, hello?
What?
Am I going crazy? Like, am I talking to myself? Is this mental? Or is this like what they mean by like inner power, inner voice? Is this peace? Like, 30 years
Yeah.
later, it's like 30 years of my life. It's like, wow, like I just turned the switch off and it was like, oh, life turned on.
Well,
So,
and I think there's also, if you like, it's so scary. It's so vulnerable.
yeah,
It's so unsteady. The devil, right,
yeah,
is safer than like I feel that in my body because I have felt that in very real and big ways.
yeah.
And I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, I could just
No,
drop the word vagina right now because
it's vagina. No,
it's vagina.
it's vagina. Um, oh, I got it. I got it back. I got it back. So right there, that I lost it again. What is happening to me?
No,
I'm
you're
losing my mind.
it's a
I
lot.
blame the baby.
It's a very scary,
Oh, well, yes.
yes.
It's a very, very scary thing. And I mean, I guess I can't make the full generalization that like every time this happens, but I feel pretty safe in guessing that this is always the case.
Yeah.
Like with my first husband, it was, I had a lot of fear around being a divorcee, about dating as a divorcee,
Hmm.
about all of that being alone. I'd never really been alone.
Yeah.
All of this stuff. Although I had been alone every time I left for a show, I was alone. And guess what? I was a lot happier.
Yeah.
Um, but I really realized that in terms of the relationship, I was already alone. And
Yeah.
that if I were actually on my own, life would be a lot easier because I wouldn't have this like heavy weight dragging me down, right?
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
similar with my dad, where like that's my dad. Like this is your parent, all of that stuff. And people are like, well, you can, it's your parent. No, this is an adult relationship.
Yeah.
And I already actually do not have a relationship. There
Right.
is no relationship here. There is like, I'm a soldier and you are the captain, lieutenant,
Yeah.
commander. And if the dynamic isn't that I just take orders and do what's expected of me, that we have a major that's not a relationship.
It's not a relationship. Respect is a two-way street, and children are always more loyal to their parents until we're not, until like some of us are just like, no, because at the end of the day, it really frustrates me when I hear like, but they're your mom, but they're your dad. And it's like, but I'm their child. Like, I'm the
Yes,
child.
I am
Like,
the
stop
child.
putting the responsibility on my shoulders. Like, but I'm the child. And now as a mother, I used to let that bother me so much. And then you have like society, like, oh, estrangement, you're not loved by your parents, it's rejection. And then you internalize all that, like, I'm not special enough, I'm not worthy enough. And you go through all of this stuff and all of the
Yeah.
people that put it on the kid, like, oh, well, but it's your parents. I'm like, yeah, but I'm their child. And like, I'm now carrying all of these things from them not being the responsible adult and parent that they should be. And now
Yes.
that we're both parents, see, that's where the real power came in for me is that once I became, it used to be like mother to child. And then it was like, oh, well, you're an adult. This is adult to adult. But I'm like, no, this is mother to mother. Like, I know what it feels like to unconditionally love my child. And like my kid could do whatever they want. And I would never let a day go by or a week go by without like whatever, you need me to apologize. Like, how can I make this work? Because I can't lose you. You're my child, like
Yeah.
I'm a mother now. So now it really like just continues to like fuel my confidence in my decision. And I think in any
Mm-hmm.
relationship, whether it's divorce or estrangement or whatever, you just once you tap into that power and you just see how much
Yes.
control you have of your own life, not what other people are writing your story should be, but what you write of your own story and your
Yes.
legacy, it is like a
Even
beautiful thing.
even with your friendships,
Yeah.
like that can be a really sticky place, but we change and grow, and there's there's a lot of information about how big of an impact the people you spend time with,
Yeah.
like the impact that that has on your life, on your well-being, your happiness, your success, however you define it in whatever area of your
Yeah.
life, that having the confidence to sort of like, I think I've always looked, well, I've stopped a while ago, but for so long,
Yeah.
I looked externally for the validation, and I
Yeah.
needed, and this makes sense with my upbringing, I needed you to like me to know that I was safe. I
Yeah.
needed you to be happy with me because then I would be safe.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't need everyone to like me, and not everyone has to like me. And if someone doesn't like me, that doesn't mean that like I'm bad. It might also just be like we're not meant to be. Like the
Right.
same way like I dated people. I was like, you are perfectly nice, but like you are not my guy. But it's not
Yeah.
because you're some terrible something. It's just like you're not for me. You will make
Yeah.
someone else so happy. Other
Yeah.
people, it was like, you are trash. Like you objectively are trash
Yeah.
and should like fix that.
Yeah.
Um, but like with friendships too, and I've found it interesting, we moved while I was pregnant with my second. And so it's new people, new community, and observing and trusting
Hmm.
me inside my body where I am always safe. I am always safe in here. Like
Hmm.
I got me.
Yeah.
We got each other. And when I meet people who I'm like, oh, you're lovely, and like
Yeah.
we will be acquaintances, meeting someone where I'm like, hey, where you been? Like we're friends. And then also feeling people wanting to be my friend and me knowing like we're not going to be friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I get like you are seeing and are attracted to that part of me that like I had a successful performing career because
Yeah.
I have a lot of energy and I'm well, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
and these are things that are true about me. And like, yes, I understand you find that attractive, but like, you're not for me.
Yeah.
Again, like dating these guys,
Yeah.
they were like, do you want to go home? And I was like, delete my number. I
Yeah.
like, you're fine. Like
Yeah.
I'm good. But does that sound so I don't mean that to sound stuck
No,
up
you
or
give
like
yourself you
jerky.
give
Like
yourself permission. Like when you
I
realize that you don't need everybody to love you, you understand that you don't need to love everybody as well. It's just
yes,
you.
and that's not an assessment of
No,
anyone
yeah.
or anything. It's like I'm allowed to have a say in this. And
Yeah.
and really I should
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
across the board. And I feel that way too about clients.
Yeah.
There are some people that we're not the right match.
Yeah.
That doesn't make me a bad teacher or a bad coach.
Right.
It means we're not meant to be together. And if we're not meant to be together, we should not be together.
Listen, you're writing your story and you create the characters. And if a character, you're like, you know what, this character, I can't kill somebody in this chapter. They're just not gonna, they're not right for the story, or it just doesn't make sense. I shouldn't say that. I was joking, but
Yeah.
it just doesn't make
It,
sense. They don't fit into your story. And that's okay. They belong in probably a fabulous book somewhere else,
yes.
and someone else can have them as a character. But not everyone has to be a character in your story. And that's okay.
Yeah. And you don't have to be a character in everyone's story. Because I do think,
100%.
as women, and if you also happen to be a mother, that like there's just a lot of implicit conditioning,
Yeah.
that we are love.
Yeah.
Are and like, sometimes I'm not.
It just makes me laugh because like literally a month ago, my husband was like, we have a lot of, like, I live in a neighborhood where I know a lot of people. And he's like, are we always going to keep the curtains closed? Because there's these thick privacy drapes. And I'm like, yes, because even though my car's in the driveway, I might not feel like socializing if somebody rings my doorbell. Like, I just
Yes.
want to have a say in every aspect of my life. I don't want to talk today, or I'm doing this, or whatever. Like this
Yes.
character, I need to go to chapter 4. I'm gonna like repeat and hover in chapter 2 for a bit. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
But
know.
it really,
It's the
it
pressure.
really is. And I think that, you know, making these hard decisions, moving through these difficult transitions in
Yeah.
life, if you really become fluent in and comfortable with and well practiced at including yourself
Yeah.
in the decision making process, really including yourself, it won't free you from experiencing pain or going through the thing, but it makes it less terrible. It
Yeah.
makes it easy because even, doing the right thing is not always the easy thing. And it's really hard. And when it's hard, if you can stay centered and grounded in, and this is why this was the best decision, like, and
Hmm.
this is why I've made this decision and I stand behind it, you're going to have an easier time than if when all of the external, but it's your mom. But
Yeah.
what do you mean? Did you even try to save your marriage? No, I woke up and said, let's blow up my life today. Like, what
Yeah.
is wrong with you? Right? Like,
Yeah.
you can field all of that because it's
Yeah.
just, you don't know what I know, and you don't need to because it's none of your business because
Yeah.
this is my decision. And as
You
long
also,
as I can go to bed at night feeling good about it,
oh
like
yeah.
that's what matters.
And you also never know what that person, like, I'm always very careful, like when I share things with certain people or just anyone, because, sometimes feedback and comments can be hurtful, like, oh, but they're your mom, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, you never know what that person is coming from. Like they could be in a very unhappy marriage, or they could be dealing with their own toxic parents, and they just don't they haven't turned on that light. They haven't like activated that little tool inside to say like, oh wait, do I have a choice in this relationship? Like I can't just get divorced, or I can't just like break up with a parent, or I can't give myself the space to even think about what I want. So,
Yeah.
you never know. It's always like I remind myself like even if someone is like sort of offending me or like hurting my feelings, like I just stick to my guns and my ways because I know the journey that I've had and the transformation that's been on the other side. And if they are going through something like that, I'm like, maybe I'll inspire them to like take the space at least to see that,
Yeah.
like, I'm tap dancing down the sidewalks, like living my best life.
Well,
Like,
and
it's
that
not always easy, but I'm tap dancing rather than crying. So,
you've been freed from
yes.
the constraints of those expectations. And this
Yeah.
is what that looks like.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you have to leave all of your relationships and start over, right? Like,
No.
but that this is an option. You do have an option. You do have a choice. You do have a say.
Yeah.
And it's, I think something that makes it hard is we are also so conditioned to be so disconnected from our bodies in so many ways.
Yeah.
And to ignore our instincts, our hunger instincts.
Yeah.
We're not really conditioned to ignore thirst. We're
Yeah.
encouraged to listen to that one because then you won't eat as much, right? Like we get that
Yeah.
messaging a lot, right?
Yeah.
And we and we ignore the like pain in your bunion because heels are cute. And right, like
Yeah.
we really in a lot of ways and in terms of exercise, like pushing harder, harder, harder.
Yeah.
And like most of the work that I do with people is like freeing us from that garbage.
Yeah.
Because if you're really going to have a relationship with your body, if you're going to show up and have it show up with you and have a conversation, it needs to be a safe space. And you need to look at the Olympics just happened. Like look at how an Olympian trains.
Yeah.
They don't beat themselves into the ground.
Yeah.
They taper. They do the fundamentals relentlessly, pepper in some spicy things,
Yeah.
right? They taper, they eat, they sleep. And I mean, the same things apply to like it applies to your marriage. It applies to your best friendships, right? Like all
Yeah.
of these things, like how you are relating to the world.
Yeah.
Like, how are you preparing yourself for that? And do you have that internal dialogue? Can you trust that sense when you meet someone and it's really good? And you're
Yeah.
like, I want to stay connected with this person. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know what this is, but it's great.
Yeah.
But also trust the one of like, I don't like you.
Yeah.
I don't have the words yet. I'm sure you'll prove me right.
Yeah.
But actually I don't need you to. So I just like, you're good. Like,
Yeah.
good luck with your
It,
story. Like it's not
it's,
mine, you
yeah.
know?
I think that's being so just connected to your body and yourself. And speaking of body, because I can't be speaking with the Amy Poehler of vaginas without, we have not said vagina enough because I was expecting it to be vagina every other word. Your whole philosophy revolves around the pelvic floor. And
Yes.
there's this question that you ask, and I read on your website a lot when your vagina, wait, I'm sorry. You
Mm,
say, do you know where your vaginas are pointing?
yeah.
And when your vagina is aligned with gravity, your whole life aligns with the universe. I need you to explain this to me and to
So,
everyone listening.
okay, here we go. So, where is your vagina pointing? If we're both seated.
Yes.
So, our vagina, if we're like musculoskeletally
Mm-hmm.
aligning our bodies, our vagina should be pointing straight down
Okay.
so that your weight is balanced front to back between your pubic bone and tailbone. And your weight's also balanced side to side from sit bone to sit bone.
Okay.
At the center of like that diamond of your pelvic floor
Mm-hmm.
is the vaginal opening. Roughly, everybody's body is unique. Well, we're
Yes.
gonna go with it. So your vagina pointing straight down. And then if
Okay.
you sit with your vagina pointing straight down, do you feel how the rest of your spine lifts
Yes.
up and your head kind of lands right on top of your vagina?
Yeah.
So then it's also blatantly clear if your shoulders are still rounded or if your head is still a little bit further forward. And you can just address that and put your body, the structure of your body, into your alignment, which is
Hmm.
different from my alignment. I have a different skeleton. I've been doing different things with my body. You've been doing different things with your
Yes.
body, right? Into your alignment. Being in alignment allows your muscles to work the way they're supposed to, not overperforming, not underperforming,
Okay.
sharing responsibilities, right? Navigating external forces, generating energy. It allows all of your organs to be where they're supposed to be so that, I mean, let's be real, so that you poop well, right? And so sex doesn't hurt and you don't pee when you sneeze or when you orgasm, unless that you're into that, in which case you should do it, but only when you want to, like voluntarily, not involuntarily, right?
Yes.
So a lot like aligning your pelvis and your vagina, right? Aligns your whole spine. We just talked about how that affects you, like what's happening musculoskeletally. But if
Yeah.
we get a little woo, the chakra system, like line these energy centers in your body, correlate to that length of your spine and in your pelvis. And the root chakra, which is like, we're not like very near the vaginal opening. It's like
Okay.
some people say it's at the tip of the tailbone. Some people say it's at the perineal body. Potato, potato. I'm going to say it's at your vagina, the back of your vaginal opening. And if you are listening to this and don't have a vagina, I invite you to explore your energetic vagina, like where a vagina would be, because I'm a woman who's been told to like tap into my big D energy in my life.
Yes.
And so you like, let's explore deep V energy,
Good
right? Because we need
reminder.
that yin and yang. We need
Yes.
that masculine and feminine, all of
Yes.
us. So, like, let's bring a little bit of that in. But that root chakra, when that root chakra is aligned, that's responsible for aligning all of the other chakras. So,
Uh,
all of the energetics in your body are also aligned. And when we get these things in order, we function more optimally. We work, it's easier
yeah.
because we're not making it harder. We can work in that balanced way where we're not overperforming, we're not underperforming. We are responsive accurately to what we are receiving from our environment and what is
Yeah.
needed from us. We can generate energy. We can also relax
Yeah.
and release energy. And so we spent a lot of this conversation talking about relationships and, probably like strategically as a guest on your show, right? I should have directed this whole conversation to like Pilates and muscles and vaginas, right? But
But it was too good. You have to go with it. I love it.
no, there for me, I was like, we are
Yeah.
still in line with the work that I do because yes, I work with how where is your pelvic floor? What does it do? There are a variety of muscles. You can isolate your urethral sphincter from your anal sphincter from the right side to the left side. The potential is endless.
Okay.
These muscles are part of your core. If you want a strong core to have like a healthy back, this is important. If you want a strong core because like you want flat abs and to look a certain way, that you cannot skip your undercarriage. Like you are
Yeah.
cutting yourself off at the knees. But as women, as people who have been conditioned to be disconnected from ourselves, to be disgusted by our
Hmm.
own bodies and selves, to ignore our intuition in favor of handing it over to somebody else. Hello, me,
Yeah. I
right?
think we can all relate to all
Where we're
that.
looking for we weigh the external more than the internal. If you start to work with your pelvic floor, if you start learning about your anatomy and integrating these muscles into global movements, meaning whole body movements, and
Hmm.
I notice I said movements, not workouts. It includes workouts, but also how you go up and down the stairs, how you get in and out of your car, how you go for a walk for your mental health, right? If you integrate this, we are reclaiming ourselves. We are building, I call it pelvic literacy,
Hmm.
where we are listening for our body to tell us something and developing a common language so that we can understand each other, so that then we could actually maybe value our internal knowing more than the external, but at the very least, to begin with, include it in what we're considering. And
Yeah.
I think that that's important for well, I know it's important for your physical health. Like if you have plantar fasciitis, if you have hip pain, if you do pee when you sneeze, if you have back pain, if you have
I've
like
had
a
a
thing.
spine fusion after my second kid. So
Okay, you have a
working on
spine
my
fusion.
core would have been, I wish we
If
could
you
have had this conversation
It's
3 years
not too
ago.
late. It's
Yeah.
not too
I'm
late.
I'm
These are
literally writing
muscles.
this down. Yeah.
Muscles change,
Yeah.
right? Like we can do this, and if we do and we don't accept that, like, well, you're an aging woman, like you pee
Yeah.
your pants. Oh, you're a mom, you pee your pants. If we fight back, if we push back against that by being like, no, I'm going to be continent, we are creating a different world. We are taking a stance for women
Yeah.
and for everyone, like for equality and equity in
Yeah.
autonomy,
Yeah.
which we really need because our autonomy has been on the line.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
real, for real.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, everyone listening, like just key words like balance, alignment, core. I mean, if people are listening to this and they want to explore everything that you're saying with the pelvic floor health, what are the first steps? Like, what are the resources? Where can they find you? Do they contact you? How does this
Thank
what are the
you.
first steps?
Okay. The first steps are being right here, right now. And just even like ask yourself, where is my vagina pointing? And it is totally okay if you're like, Alissa, I have no idea. We can meet you there. So I have a free workout that I will share the link. And guess the title of the workout. Where is your
Where's your-
vagina pointing?
I love it.
Because I use this as a cue because, like we talked about, like it literally actually physically affects your alignment and puts your body into a more aligned, optimally functioning position.
Hmm.
And I say it a lot as a way to normalize the word vagina because I can say belly button and nobody bats an eye. And what if
Yeah.
I could say vagina and nobody bats an eye?
I'm not batting an eye anymore because you said poop. So now I'm stuck on poop. And now it's like vagina, 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 vagina. I'm okay with
What
vagina
if I
now.
told you that my first son tore my anal sphincter and it had to be reconstructed? Right now I'm a weirdo,
Now
but
I need a glass of
why?
wine.
But
I'm just kidding.
why? But why? Like I also had a gum
Yeah.
surgery once. Like,
Yeah.
right? Like this
I
is
know.
our body. And
I know.
I also say you don't need to tell everyone about your vagina, but I do feel that if there's something you want to say or
Yeah.
ask or talk about your vagina, we all deserve a judgment-free, open place to do so without like being the weirdo.
It's so true. It's so true. And I'm so happy to be having this conversation with you today. And for everyone listening, I'm going to link her website because you have to do this free workout. Check it out so you
Yes.
can start to explore your pelvic floor, your health, and think of these words: alignment, core.
Yes. There's also, so you can get the free workout. And then there's also, if you are just like ready to dive in, I have a 6-week online program, which you can
Amazing.
do self-led, or we can work together through it to really dive in and address your body and make sure that you know what you are doing in your body because there all of our bodies are different. So it
Yeah.
isn't like all of these things that's like, here's the one thing you need to do. That's trash.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
absolute trash. You need to learn about what your body is and how it works. And then you have to develop that internal dialogue
Yeah.
where you then listen to each other.
Amazing. It has been such a pleasure chatting with you today. Thank you so much for your time and your
Thank
insights and
you.
your expertise and your vulnerability.
Thank you so much, Carrie. I love everything that you do. And I'm
Thank
so honored to be here.
I am so honored for you to be here. Thank you so much. And everyone, go check out her website and her workout. And I'm telling you now, you don't need to be uncomfortable about this because she is a breath of fresh air with energy. I think she could make a major profit off of, and she has the biggest smile. So if anyone who knows me, you know how shy I am. Vagina, vagina, vagina. Contact Alissa Alter. It's all good, people. You need her. Thank you for joining this week's episode of Surviving Roots. Let's continue this conversation as a community. For more updates about the show, remember to subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. Also, there will be some special bonus footage from the show on Instagram at carrie.fund. I'll see you there.